when it reached that 1489 mark. So overall, technically, it's still a better mark. Let's chat about exactly how things have been faring thus far and what has moved those numbers. And of course, right at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, we're joined by Chantel Marks from FNB Wealth and Investments. Chantel, thank you so much for for joining us, rather, should I say. You heard Mary Buffett there. How much insight did you gain from that?
Yeah, I mean, it's in line with our philosophy as well. Buying quality companies at wonderful prices or good companies at wonderful prices is basically in line with being a quality investor. So instead of looking for short-term gains or trying to time the market, rather look for something that you can see longer-term value in, and that you can actually walk alongside with. So I also take her point that one of the issues facing the unit trust industry in South Africa specifically is the fact that everyone wants to be first quartile every single quarter or every single month. And that kind of short-term view doesn't necessarily coincide with investor expectations of creating longer-term wealth. So absolutely agree with her, and some very valuable insights.
Yeah, well, certainly not a bad idea to catch her at Sandton Convention Centre then, I suppose. But nonetheless, let's head on over to this market picture here locally then as well. Nearly 1% to the good today. It's very rare recently that we've had 2 days of consecutive gains, so perhaps a better market here, flushing out some of the news out of the trade war and focusing a lot more on that cabinet announcement.
Yeah, absolutely. Yesterday seems to have been driven by valuation and the fact that the market has been beaten down quite significantly, and perhaps some bargain hunters entering the fray. Today, the rand has strengthened quite a bit, and bond yields have also come down as a result of certainty around the cabinet. I mean, even though the cabinet wasn't exactly what everyone was expecting, we thought that it was going to be a lot smaller. There was a reduction in size, which was positively perceived, and some continuity in some of the key portfolios. The market reacted quite positively to it. Foreign investors liked it, and the rand has strengthened. So we've seen some really good gains in rand or in SA Inc. shares or rand sensitives. And then we've also seen some really good gains on the banking side. So First Rand, for example, up quite a bit today, along with all the other banking shares. I think the financial sector by far outperforming the rest of the market today.
Year to date, however, none of those are actually looking as well as one would have liked. Bidvest, they're down nearly 7% this year so far. The likes of First Rand, as you mentioned, down 2%. Nedbank falling down nearly 10% there. And these are all just what I'm reading just behind you. So it's clearly not going to be a sustainable trend with regards to the uptick here just based on this cabinet announcement. And now the proof of the pudding is going to be in the eating, right? So now it's down to the hard work here for that cabinet.
Yeah, absolutely. But at least now we have some sort of idea of what the cabinet looks like and what the possibility of further reform looks like. But as you rightly mentioned, we need to start seeing the proof, and that's only when you see the actual proof, you're going to see a step change in confidence in the economy, and that should translate into improvement in investment, which is ultimately required in order to boost economic growth. Economic growth is very important for the stock market, because it will actually be the driver ultimately of stock market returns, particularly in the SA Inc. space and particularly in the banks. But certainly the moves today just reflecting that there is some sort of confidence in that possibly playing out.
Yeah. Is the rand still undervalued?
That's quite a tricky one, but it does seem to be slightly undervalued still at 1460. I think closer to about 14 Rand would be a better and more sustainable level for the local currency.
Yeah. Okay. Very quickly, let's get into some company news. The likes of Nampak as well then. Quite interesting set of results there. Your sentiments, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Nampak coming under a bit of pressure, particularly on the revenue front, because of currency devaluations in the rest of Africa. So Nampak has quite a significant exposure to Angola. The Angolan Kwanza came under a lot of pressure. So when you translate back revenue in from Kwanza to Rand, that would have suffered. And then also because of the devaluation in the Kwanza, you actually saw consumer demand come off in that space a little bit. So demand for packaging also waning a little bit. We also saw a devaluation in the Nigerian naira, although not at all at the level of the Kwanza, which also had an impact. And in South Africa, we know economic conditions have been quite constrained, so demand for packaging also coming under pressure here. I guess what is reflected in the share price is again kind of a hope that things will go better in South Africa going forward, and that the devaluation of both the Kwanza and the Naira is kind of done and in the base, and we should expect an improvement going forward.
Yeah, one would certainly
We're also
hope.
looking for news on the sale of their glass business, which they insist is going according to plan. So yeah, hopefully kind of a low point for Nampak now.
Very quickly, in 20 seconds then, why should we care about Stephani Tea stocks?
Stephani Tea stocks. Okay, so that's in the construction space. We know the construction space has been under an enormous amount of pressure. Stephani Tea was one of the companies that performed quite well in that space, but it too has come under quite a bit of strain from a liquidity perspective, and they might have to raise capital in the equity market soon. So just in terms of the health of the construction sector, another stock showing us that things are really, really tough in that space.
Chantel Marks, FNB Wealth and Investment. Appreciate your time this afternoon there, giving us a look at that market picture. All green really just behind her there, 0.8% higher for the JSE All Share as well there. That market sentiment is clearly giving you a picture of how things look. Day 2 of gains on the JSE All Share. Will it stay that way? We'll find out soon enough. Right after